Welcome to Real Estate Agent Superstars. I'm your host, RJ Baxter with Intercap Lending, and we have an awesome guest with us today. We have Jason Gray, the mayor of Castle Rock, and he was gracious enough to spend some time with us talking about the Castle Rock community and some real estate related issues going on. So welcome to the podcast, Jason. Excited to have you.
No, thanks for having me. And my thanks goes to Paul Donahue, former mayor, who reached out to you and you reached out to him. So that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about yourself. How did you get started in government?
I would say the government part was kind of by accident. As far as getting involved in town was on purpose. I moved from Alaska in 1998, early 1998. I knew I was going to do a coffee shop somewhere, roastery somewhere, and started doing my research and decided to open a shop in Castle Rock, Colorado in 1999. It opened up January 26, 1999. So we're going to celebrate hopefully our 25th anniversary this next year. And right away, I wanted to be involved in downtown. So I joined the Chamber of Commerce and different downtown merchants organizations, and soon became the board member of the Chamber for 7 years. Went from there to the Economic Development Council, as well as the Downtown Merchants Association. I was the president for 5 years of that. And then a couple other organizations as well. And then the town of Castle Rock, back in 2017, I believe, voted to have their first, what they call it a voted on mayor. Before myself, the mayor was actually picked by town council.
Oh,
so they picked one of their own to be town council. So when Paul Donahue was the mayor, they picked him to be town council mayor, and he did a fantastic job. So I'm the first voted on mayor by the public.
Okay, awesome. And you became mayor is it 2018?
18, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then reelected in 22.
Yeah, I won by an astounding 57 votes in 2018. There was 34,000 votes cast. I won by 57. And then, fortunately, this year I had no opponent this year, so it was nice.
Okay, so you won by a landslide.
Yeah, about 35,000 votes.
Okay, nice. And what's the name? By the way, what's the name of your coffee?
Oh, it's Crowfoot Valley Coffee. So we're a local roaster as well as retail and wholesale.
Okay, nice. I'll be sure to check that out.
Thanks.
So why mayor? I mean, you're involved in government. Why did you decide to actually run for mayor?
One of my close friends was on the council, Jason Bauer, a good friend of mine. He owns a music store in town. I think being a small business owner in town, most of my friends are small business owners. And so I reached out to Jason Bauer and I said, gosh, you should run for mayor. And he said, no, I can't do it. My kids are at an age where I need to be at home more. And he said, oh, you should run for mayor. And I was like, I don't think I want to run for mayor. And I think a day later, the current mayor, Jen Green, called me up and said, I heard you're running for mayor. And I was like, no, not me. And a few days later, I got a call from another council person who said, hey, I heard you're running for mayor. And I know, not me. And along down the line, and next thing you know, I was running for mayor.
That's awesome. So how has the journey been?
It's had its ups and downs. I think without COVID, it would have been a little easier. I like to believe that I was the person for the job. I had a wife who was going through cancer right in the middle of COVID. She was diagnosed in September 2019, had surgery in February of 2020. And then I couldn't even go to the hospital, right? I just sitting in the parking lot while she was having chemo and radiation. And so it was agonizing, but I had to, keep her safe and keep my family safe. At the same time, I had 2 retail shops and a wholesale company that I needed to try to keep from sinking. And so I thought as a business person who wanted to save his business, and as a husband and father who wanted to save his family, I really thought I saw both sides of it. I saw the dangers of it with my family, but I also saw the dangers of how it really brutalized businesses.
Yeah, how did Castle Rock deal with that, and how did you do
we were really lucky. We were the first town or city on the Front Range to do business grants. So we did business grants about 3 months before we even knew we were going to get ARPA funds. Since I'm business centric, and a couple of people on the council were pretty business centric, when we were getting crushed, when our friends and family were getting crushed, we did $10,000 business grants 3 times in the town of Castle Rock. And then fortunately, the Douglas County followed suit and they did the same. And then we were fortunate enough to get reimbursed most of that money through ARPA funds, but we had no intention of getting reimbursed. We didn't care. We wanted to make sure our businesses knew that the town of Castle Rock cared. And we were the first one to do that on the Front Range. And several other towns and cities followed suit.
That's awesome. So did most businesses manage to stay afloat in Castle Rock?
We had an 86% success rate, which is actually about typical for any 3-year period. So we took 2020 through now, and it's about what would be even without COVID. So 15% is about typical for 3 years.
Okay, I was going to say a certain number of businesses fail no matter what the economic.
Exactly, and that's about the same numbers. And we were really fortunate. I mean, there were a lot of other places, Denver included, just got crushed and hasn't really recovered the way they thought they would. We're pretty fortunate.
Yeah, well, Castle Rock is such a thriving area and it's growing so fast. What other challenges are you having up till now? I mean, what kind of current challenges is Castle Rock having?
Yeah, if you want to back up a little bit, so we up until May of 2022, we were doing about 100 single family home permits a month, so 3 a day. Okay. 3 a day for about 3 or 4 years. So we were one of the fastest growing communities on the Front Range. Since May of 2022, we're down 65%.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so we're pulling somewhere between 30 and 40 permits a month now, which is still, I would say, unfortunately or fortunately, we're still kind of leaders in the market on that. I mean, most towns and cities are doing 20 or 25.
Okay, I was going to ask what a typical city would
Yeah.
be like. What about places like Aurora that are expanding so fast east?
They're still expanding really fast, but they're having the same downturn as everybody is on the Front Range. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that there's been a lot of consternation about how fast we're growing. There's a lot of people who are pretty upset with it. Think we're going too fast. Almost all, like 99% of our entitlements were done before the year 2000. So most of our growth is entitled growth or growth with contracts or, planned communities for that matter.
Uh-huh. So I don't know what that means. What are entitlements?
So entitlement, I'll give you an example. We have a local community here called in the Meadows. In 1984, CRDC, Castle Rock Development Company, bought that land and had a contract, or what we call a fancy word for entitlement, for 10,000 homes. And so they had a contract to build 10,000 homes, and they were going to fulfill that contract. And same with any kind of planned community, will usually have some kind of contract with a town or entitlement with a town in order to build their area. Does that make sense?
Totally,
okay.
100%. So are more of these types of entitlements being granted today, or is there kind of a halt on?
There's kind of a halt on it. I mean, we have so many entitlements that we still need to do that we haven't really done many entitlements in the last 20 years almost.
Yeah.
And so we're still working on our contracts and on our entitlements.
So how many homes are still scheduled to be built based on those existing?
Oh, I think we have about 10,000 total. We just there's Dawson Trails, which is about 4,900 homes, and then probably scattered about we call them infills, probably another 5,000 or so. That's probably over the next 40 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people.
It is right now. The prediction, I mean, for a while there, the prediction was about 155,000. Now the prediction is probably closer to 120 to 130.
Okay, additional, or that'd be the total?
Total. That's the total.
Okay. How much is the population right now?
85. So 85,000. I moved here in 1998. It was like right around 15,500.
Okay, 15.
15.
Is that what you said?
1-5.
Oh wow! So you've seen a lot of change. Yeah. How is the Castle Rock community dealing with this growth, and how are you dealing with it as mayor?
It's both. I mean, I think that a lot of people love the amenities, right? I mean, The hospital doesn't come here unless we have a growing community. The college doesn't come here unless we have a growing community. We don't have 3,000 acres of open space and many parks if we don't have a growing community. I think that a lot of people like the amenities, but maybe don't understand why we have all the amenities.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. More population brings that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I had a discussion with a gentleman in the hospital in December who brought his wife in for a heart attack. They saved her. And then him and I were talking. Unfortunately, my mother was in the hospital, and we were talking for a little bit. And the gentleman said, I really love Castle Rock, but I don't love the growth. And I said, but you realize you're in a hospital that's only here because of the growth. And it kind of,
Right.
the light bulb kind of went on, right? And he's like, oh, I didn't really think about it that way, because
Right.
otherwise the hospital doesn't come and at all. I mean, I'm proud recipient of the hospital because it saved my mom and dad's life probably 3 or 4 times before they unfortunately passed away recently. But they literally saved my mom and dad's life by not having to go north into Denver.
Yeah, I mean, just that extra 25
Exactly.
minutes could have cost them their lives.
Yeah,
for sure. So along with all this growth and all these industries and all these businesses comes, people having to come in to work in these businesses. And a lot of these people may not be able to afford housing in Castle Rock because it's more expensive there. How is the Castle Rock community, how are you guys dealing with the affordable housing issue?
Affordable housing, we've really concentrated on senior affordable housing in Castle Rock.
Okay.
Okay. Recently that Bill 213 recently got killed in the Senate. We came out against it. I think mostly because we were already doing all the things the governor asked us to do. We were already doing multifamily. We're already doing single family. We're already doing ADUs. We're already doing senior living. We're already doing affordable housing. So I think that it was a little frustrating for us and other municipalities on the Front Range is for the Senate or the Congress and the House and the governor to say, you guys got to do this. I'm like, we're already doing it. There are communities out there who aren't doing it, but we shouldn't be penalized for what we were doing. We were already doing the things that he had already asked us to do.
Gotcha. Okay. So do you think it's sufficient to help support those people, or a lot of people commuting in from Colorado Springs or Denver?
It's a little bit of both. I think we need to help our community a little better. I think we have a lot of hourly jobs and lower income jobs in Castle Rock that need a little help. And at the same time, we're seeing a lot of people drive into Castle Rock and do their job here. So it's a little bit of both for sure. I think that as a rule, we've concentrated on senior affordability. I think we need to look at more of our younger people of affordability as well.
Yeah. Is there a pretty big young population in Castle Rock and the surrounding areas?
No, not as young. I mean, I think that forever, it hasn't been like a fun place for a younger generation, but we're getting there. I mean, downtown is busy and booming, and so what we're seeing is a younger population, say 20s to 25, 20, 30 years old, coming into town, or even not leaving Castle Rock as they get older. But our senior population is booming as well. I mean, that's our fastest growing population is our seniors.
Yeah. Well, I can see why then you're focusing on housing for those
Yeah.
folks, or more so
Yep.
on that population. So, well, a really hot topic right now in real estate is rent control. And I think there was a proposition in Denver that was recently voted down to have rent control put in place. Is there anything in the plans for Castle Rock, and how do you feel about rent control?
Zero. I mean, there's no chance of it happening in Castle Rock. I shouldn't say no chance. I can't see it happening in Castle Rock, at least for foreseeable future. I think for the most part, we like the marketplace to do itself. I don't think that's something that we want to try to manipulate. I mean, it's hard enough to watch the federal government manipulate, interest rates, and so we don't want to put our thumb on that. I don't think so right now, at least. I can't see us doing it in the future, but who knows when I'm out of office some days, maybe the town will change its mind. But right now, I don't think anybody in the council even wants to discuss it.
Yeah, it's understandable. What percentage of housing in your area is rental properties as opposed to primary residences? Do you know approximately?
I don't know, but I know the majority is primary.
Okay, I would think that
Yeah,
would be
most
the case. Like,
primary. So a lot of the jurisdictions north of us, Lone Tree, Parker, and others have really kind of tried to stop rental properties and ADUs and that kind of thing. And we really haven't. We're a big personal property town, and if you have a property and you're allowed to do something on it, if your HOA allows you, or if you don't have an HOA at all, then we want to let you do what you do in your property. Most of our town, we have about 85% HOAs in a town of Castle Rock, and most of those HOAs you're not allowed to do ADUs, but some you can. And some people take advantage of that. Our downtown Castle Rock, that's where we see the most ADUs in Castle Rock. I think we have around 100 licensed ADUs in Castle Rock.
okay. And what can people do with ADUs? Can they short-term rental them? Do they have to live in the property, the main property as their primary residence?
They can live in either one as their primary, but they have to live in one of the properties for at least 6 months of the year. So they can live in the ADU or their mother-in-law, or they can live in the main primary one. It doesn't matter which one, but they have to do it. I think it's 190 days.
Okay, gotcha. So do you see what do you see for real estate in your area? Is there do you see a lot of demand happening right now? Is it an area that's where there's a lot of people trying to move in? I mean, above and beyond the type of building that's going on.
Well, that's a good question, RJ. It's surprising to me because since we have such a low um, permits right now, I thought that maybe there'd be less real estate action. But I talked to a good friend of mine who's a real estate agent on Tuesday, and he said that he's still getting about 3 to 4 days on the market, and he hasn't had one property this year that he's sold for under what they're asking.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing in the Denver metro area. Right?
Yeah, and he was surprised. He said he's been pleasantly surprised that there's not as much homes on the market, but the ones that are on the market are going for the price, or they're going above price.
Yeah, it's definitely a hot market. So with all of this growth happening, how is Castle Rock dealing with the infrastructure side of things, like I-25 getting more clogged up? I mean, I think that construction just ended as far as expanding I-25, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the GAP project has completed about. I mean, it completed about a year ago, and then they finished all the animal crossings and that kind of thing this last year. It's something we're still working on. I was fortunate enough to be in the year 2000 on the 2020 committee, and we knew it was coming. I mean, everybody knew it was coming, and so we were able to plan for it for the most part. I mean, the interchange is there's some clogging on the interchange for sure. We're going to break ground on our fifth interchange in June. That's in Crystal Valley Ranch. It's about a mile south of our Plum Creek interchange.
Okay.
That'll be our biggest project to date. It's about $126 million. And it's a 2-year build. We break ground in June. We're hoping to be done in June of 2025.
Okay. Now, I don't understand how government works. How is that paid for? How do you pay this $125 million? Is it all on Castle Rock, or is some state of Colorado or federal?
It's a little bit of everything. So we applied for every grant possible and got help from whoever would help us. The county's probably our biggest and best partner. They're committed to helping us out. They haven't got a final number on how much they're going to help us out, but it's plus or minus $20 million. Then the Castle Rock's going to put plus or minus $25 million. There's a new development going in that's on the hook for $50 million. And then we got some from Dr. Cog in Colorado, $9 million, I believe. Then we got a $5 million or $6 million grant from the federal government. We're still hoping that CDOT will put something in. They haven't put anything in yet, but we're hopeful that they want to help out as well. But we're committed to doing it. It's gotten to the point where Plum Creek is going to fail in the next few years.
Because of the congestion and the number of
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. I've heard rumors about another interstate going in out east. Have have you heard anything about this? Are those rumors true that could happen someday?
I've been hearing those rumors for at least 10 years, and I haven't seen any forward play on it at all. So I don't think so. It would probably help, for like it would help towns like Parker, Aurora, that kind of thing. I'm not sure how much it affect Castle Rock, but it would be nice. But I've heard the price tag is Floyd Hill kind of numbers.
Oh, I'm sure. What was the price tag on Floyd Hill?
Oh gosh, $1 billion. I can't remember. It was, yeah. I mean, it's way up there. Yeah.
When you say that one interchange is 125 million, I'd be surprised if it's even $1 billion. Seems.
Yeah, I think it was more than that. I just couldn't. I can't remember it offhand, but it was a lot more than I think that most of the communities want to put any money into. I know the state and the federal government would probably do most of the cost on it, but I know that we'd all have to put in some money for that kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I've heard rumors that it's potentially they're going to privatize it.
Oh, really? I hadn't heard that.
I mean that could just be a urban legend or a rumor. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
I heard something about that, but that maybe that's going to be 50 years down the road. But I imagine someday it'll happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe someday. I mean, it's kind of like the Front Range rail system, right? I mean, we're going to have it someday, but not in my kid's lifetime.
Mm-hmm. Do you see the entire Front Range growing together, Colorado Springs to Fort Collins? Do you think that'll happen one day?
I think it does eventually. I don't see how it doesn't. I mean, I think we're fortunate. We're kind of on a weird little island out here. We don't really touch anybody. We're a mile or so away from Castle Pines, and we're a mile or so away from Parker technically, but we don't really touch anybody else. And that's one of the reasons why we have a standalone community. We have our own fire department, our own water department, our own parks and rec, our own public works, all of that. It was necessary to kind of do our own thing in Castle Rock.
Yeah. So what else do you foresee for Castle Rock moving forward? Where could you see Castle Rock in say 10 or 20 years?
I think our southwest corridors, when we break ground on the Crystal Valley interchange, you'll see our southwest corridor, I think, blow up a little bit. We think it's a 40-year build, but we already signed a contract, or we didn't, but the developer signed a contract with Costco. That's going to open in 2 years, maybe a week or two after the interstate is built. So that would be the first thing open on that southwest corridor. And then there's several other. Go ahead.
In the new interchange there. You mean?
Exactly. We call it CVI, or Crystal Valley Interchange. So that's Costco is going to open up right there in 2 years on the west side of the highway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, is there another Costco in your area?
The nearest one is Lone Tree and Parker.
Okay. Well, that'll be a nice amenity.
Yeah, I mean, Costco, does all their numbers, and they figure there's about 30,000 residents that already have memberships. Okay, and so gotcha. How we look at it, being kind of selfish, is that's 30,000 people who are spending money in Lone Tree or Parker, and when they can be spending it here.
Okay. Well, do you think so? This has been a lot of great insights, and I really appreciate your time. Do you think you're going to? Will you run again? Do they cap the number of terms that you do as a mayor?
I'm capped, so I just my second and my last term.
Okay. Is there a particular person that could possibly be your successor?
Oh, geez, I think there's a lot. I don't know anybody offhand, but I think it's going to be a crowded race. Okay. Yeah. Okay. It's 4 years away, so who knows how it's going to shake out. But I have a lot of good council members around me, and a lot of good citizens that are already involved in the community. So I'm sure it's in good hands once I go.
Yeah. So, what does a day in the life of a mayor look like? I don't know what you actually do on a day-to-day basis. You're surely not doing podcasts all day.
No, it depends on the day. Yesterday, I worked in the morning. I at the coffee shop until about 10 or so, and then I had meetings with the town manager and the rec center director, parks and rec director. After that, and then I had board and commissions interviews until 10 o'clock last night. And then
Wow.
that was
You definitely.
that was on Tuesday and Wednesday, almost the exact same thing. And then this morning, I worked until 8:30. Had a Douglas County homeless initiative at 9 o'clock. Met with Douglas County Aging at 11. Right before this interview, I had a meeting with Downtown Merchants Association and a Downtown Development Authority, and then actually left that meeting early to come here.
Wow. So you definitely stay busy.
Yeah, I mean, the town manager we've had several meetings over the last 4 years about saying no, and I haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, you're a busy guy, and again, I definitely appreciate your time, spending some time with us here. Any other parting thoughts on the real estate market specifically in your area?
I'd say it's still strong in the real estate market, and including Castle Rock. I think that and we're hoping that we've kind of hit a low. We're hoping that when the Feds change the interest rates, hopefully in the next 6 months to a year, things will bounce back on the building front. I think that what a lot of people, my constituents, a lot of them don't understand is, we're down 35. I'm sorry, we're down 60 to 65% on our building, and that building pays for our roads, and that development pays for our fire and police and our open space. And so I get that sometimes traffic can be rough, and it's tough to see that kind of thing. But I encourage people, whether it's in Castle Rock or other communities on the Front Range, to try to see the amenities. What are the goods of it? I get that overcrowding can be hard and traffic can be difficult. Especially if if you're on the highway on I-25 for 25, 30, 45 minutes, and then you get out the highway, and then you have more traffic in your community, and that can be frustrating. But again, I look at we have amazing parks in Castle Rock. We have amazing open space. We got a top-notch hospital, and our college is growing. And so that's why I try to lean myself into.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all those insights, and again, really appreciate your time, Jason. This has been an awesome insight into the Castle Rock area.
Thanks, RJ. Make sure you give me a holler if you need.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Well, thank you for everyone for listening to the show today. If you found value in this, please share it with other people that you know so the word gets out, and consider leaving us a 5-star review. Once again, my name is RJ Baxter, Intercap Lending, and thank you again for listening.